Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome here to the Miller Theatre of the Asia Society in Hong Kong. My name is Vernon Moore. I'm a trustee of the Asia Society, and it's my great privilege to be able to introduce today's events. And in particular, not only you, but I would like to welcome Chief Minister Lim Guan Ung to our Asia Society building here, and he will speak to us in a second after I have done an introduction. But first, I'd just like to thank our sponsors of this event today. They are value partners in the Far East Consortium, and Mr. Chair Cheng Hai, the chairman of Value Partners, is here, and the daughter of Mr. David Chiu, the chairman of Far East Consortium, is with us too. And the Asia Society would like to thank them very much indeed for their sponsorship. Now today, we have a most important and interesting presentation. With us is the Right Honourable Mr. Lim Guan Ung, of the Chief Minister of Penang. And he is a man of, with many parts to his life. I've been provided with an extensive biography. He has been the Chief Minister since 2008, and he has managed in his government to every year have a balanced budget or a surplus, repay 95% of the debt of the state, increase the assets of the state by 50%, and the state is the largest recipient of foreign domestic investment in Malaysia. His career began by going to Monash University to read economics. He became an accountant, like many of us in this room, before becoming a banker. And perhaps it's these qualities which has resulted in such excellent economic management of the state of Penang. And in 1986, Mr. Lim became interested in politics, and he was elected to Parliament. I think it's true to say from reading a briefing note which was sent by his office that his career had some ups and downs, including 2 periods in jail because he was an outspoken person. But this briefing note has another aspect to his life. It says, "To many of us, he is a state leader, Secretary General of the DAP party, an outspoken politician. However, he is first and foremost a married family man with 4 children." So I think there you can get a glimpse of the quality of person we're just about to listen to. Now, we all read about Malaysia. We know that it has about 30 million people, that it has rich natural resources, that it's got good economic growth, and it also has problems. And I personally often think I'd like to know more about Malaysia. And today is the time where we will all have that opportunity. And I'd like to invite the Chief Minister to come to the podium to talk about his views of the current situation in Malaysia and the challenges that are being faced. Chief Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Vernon Moore, the trustee of the Asia Society, Ms. Winnie Chiu, who is representing her father, Tan Sri David Chiu, a good friend of Malaysia and Penang, the Consul General of Malaysia and, of course, Singapore here, distinguished guests, and, of course, to the many Malaysian friends who are gathered today by invitation for this short session on the Malaysian political situation and what the future holds. Now, I'm speaking to you in the midst of a crisis in Malaysia, both political and economic. Of late, we have been regularly grabbing headlines in the top newspapers all over the world. The Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, the Telegraph, and of course, even the news sites in Hong Kong. Unfortunately, they are all for the wrong reasons. As much as I would like to help you make sense of the recent developments in Malaysia, I myself struggle to come to terms with the fact that we may have sunk to the lowest depths in our nation's history since the bloody 1969 May 13 riots. And this is seen by declining economic growth, rising inflation, and of course, the depreciation of our ringgit, plunging to unimaginable depths in our history. And I think today's markets, where $1 has gone out to 4.2 ringgit, it's completely unimaginable. Now, how we deal with the causes and effects, especially the 42 billion ringgit 1NDB financial scandal and the 2.6 billion ringgit political donation scandal, is a litmus test of either Malaysia becoming a rogue state, or emerging as a functional, democratic and developed nation. Professor Danny Quah, Professor of Economics and International Development at the LSE, recently wrote that Malaysia has become a rogue state, a state that has deviated from the ideals of democracy, rule of law, free speech, and egalitarianism. And this is from an economist who was once serving the Malaysian Prime Minister when he was on the Malaysia's National Economic Advisory Council from 2009 to 2011. Despite earlier denials, the Prime Minister Datuk Seri Najib Tun Razak had to finally admit that an astonishing sum of $700 million had been transferred into his own personal account before the last general elections. He claimed that they were in fact donations meant not for his personal use, but for UMNO, despite the fact that all senior party officials, including his own UMNO Deputy President and then Deputy Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin, having no knowledge whatsoever of this large donation, its source and its final destination, especially the rather mysterious beneficiaries. The Prime Minister's response to public demands to come clean was to first close down Malaysia's leading financial daily, The Age, and its sister paper, then banning the online websites, the Sarawak Report, and threatened its owner, Claire Brown, with extradition from United Kingdom for daring to publish expose after expose of 1NDB, and of course the role played by Jolo. We now understand why 1NDB is in the center of this entire scandal, the $13 billion 1NDB scandal that led to the shocking revelation of 2.6 billion ringgit donation in the Prime Minister's personal account. But that's not all. The Prime Minister then proceeded to sack his own Deputy Prime Minister and other ministers, disrupt the special task force formed to investigate the Prime Minister's financial transactions, as well as the alleged links to 1MDB. He also sacked the Attorney General, harassed, detained, and even transferred officials of the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, and even some members of the police force. Today, a member of the AG Chambers, who had been detained, was stripped of her PR status. In addition to the high-handed action against his opponents, Najib also found it convenient to promote 4 members of the Parliamentary Accounts Committee of PAC, including its chairman, to the cabinet. This had the effect of suspending the ongoing investigation of 1NDB by the PAC until a new chairman is appointed to head the PAC and continue investigations. In one fell swoop, the Prime Minister had succeeded in silencing his major detractors, either by removing them from office, prosecuting them, or in the case of the PAC members, co-opting them. Unfortunately, while Najib and the Prime Minister has extended his political life, the repercussions from all these draconian measures have been a black blot on our economy and our country's reputation. I do not need to go at length on the disastrous effect on our economy. I think nothing can reflect the sense of helplessness when we see our ringgit plunging to historic lows, dropping by 28% over the past year to as I mentioned, 4 ringgit 20 cents to every US dollar today. I think we have paid the price. We know that we have become poorer by 28% over the past year. Even Penang has suffered. We are supposed to be a high-income economy this year. Based on the World Economic Forum Human Capital Report, which defines a high-income economy possessing a GDP per capita of 12,467 US dollars, or 40,841 ringgit, based on the then exchange rate of 3 ringgit 27 cents per US dollar. But now with US dollar at 4 ringgit 20 cents, that bar has been raised. It is no longer 40,841. We are supposed to reach 42,251 GDP per capita this year. But because of the 28% drop in the value of the ringgit, that bar has been raised to 52,000 ringgit. It will probably take us another 5 to 10 years to reach 52,000 ringgit GDP per capita. I think this goes to show how much the people will suffer. And with inflation expecting to increase because of the drop in the depreciation of the ringgit, I think we are looking at very challenging times. Now, with the economy heading towards contraction and the government in disarray, some might think that this would present a good political opportunity for the opposition to benefit. After all, look at what is happening to the component parties in the Barisan Nasional. MIC is split asunder, and the other component parties, whether MCA, Gerakan or SUBP, are completely irrelevant. BN is basically only left with UMNO. The 1NDB episode, because of its size and scale, will undoubtedly leave a scar in Malaysia's finances and economy. More importantly, it will also scar, if not splinter asunder, UMNO. The pressure is now mounting from within, following the sacking of the Deputy Prime Minister. More and more leaders are speaking up. The focus, of course, is on the opposition, but increasingly so, more on resolving the internal contradictions within UMNO. And as everyone knows, when they want to solve internal contradictions within UMNO, the opposition party will always be the first to pay. But let me also share with everyone here whether it is all rosy from the opposition side. Pakatan Rakyat, comprising of DAP, PKR and PAS, ceased to exist when PAS severed ties with the DAP in July 2015. PAS had abandoned its welfare state in favour of working together with UMNO to push for the immediate implementation of hudud laws and the Sharia criminal code in Kelantan. After causing PR to split, PAS has now even supported the Prime Minister on issues such as 1NDB and has even stated that 2 witnesses are required before proof can be ascertained on the guilt of the Prime Minister. At this point, I think some may feel like the death knell is sounding for our country because, on the one hand, the government does not appear to be functioning, and on the other, the opposition is split. However, I would not agree with such doomsday predictions. Instead, I see our country currently undergoing a period of transition. Malaysia is not yet a failed state. A rogue state, perhaps, but not yet a failed state. That is why Malaysia can still be saved if we dare to effect a change of government at the next general elections through clean and corrupt-free elections. And like anywhere else in the world, change is always painful, especially when the context involves changing a government that has been in power for 60 uninterrupted years. I believe that the PR's split as well as demise may turn out to be a blessing in disguise. Many leaders, the moderate leaders within PAS, disagree with the current hardline stand taken by the new leadership, disagree with the present leadership cooperating with UMNO, and have broken away to form a new, moderate and progressive Islamic movement called Gerakan Harapan Baru, or the New Hope Movement. To date, this new movement, splitting from PAS, has shown much promise, with massive crowds at its public events and with nearly half of PAS MPs declaring their intention to join this new movement. Gerakan Harapan Baru has emphasized on promoting good governance and taking care of the well-being of the people. They also project a brand of Islam that is far more inclusive and progressive, propelling Malaysia forward as a moderate Malaysian Muslim nation. At the same time, DAP is also slowly but surely gaining acceptance amongst the Malays, with our Impian Kelantan project, or Kelantan Dream project, raising 2 million ringgit to build 47 homes for the massive flood victims. Prominent Malay personalities, such as National Laureate Pak Samad Said and constitutional law expert Professor Aziz Bari, have joined the DAP, together with many young Malay professionals, youth and women. DAP will speak up for the Malays who are looking for new alternatives and are tired and disillusioned with the cronyism and corrupt politics of Barisan Nasional. I think this sense of anger can best be reflected by what one Malay prominent writer, Zalina Anwar, wrote in one of her opinion pieces. And I'd like to read what she had written. Time has run out for this old form of authoritarian politics and ruled by a privileged elite out to enrich themselves and their cronies. In the book Why Nations Fail, it is argued with evidence across history and geography that authoritarian, extractive political and economic institutions designed by elites in order to enrich themselves and perpetuate their power at the expense of the majority of the people are bound to run out of steam. The pride we have in our beloved country is that was not our history. That was not how Malaysia began. But today, this is where we are heading. Just look at the Mara scandal. An agency set up to redress the historical economic injustice against the Malays ends up being led by people cheating the very group they are supposed to help, pocketing millions in barefaced shenanigans. A policy vehicle pumped with hundreds of millions of taxpayers' money to eradicate poverty on the basis of race gets abused by the privileged elite of that race. This is yet another case of pagar, harap pagar jaga padi, pagar makan padi. Those entrusted to protect you instead betray you, and there are many more such scandals just waiting to be surfaced. Let's ask some hard questions here. Why, after decades of rigorous development planning, 40% of Malaysian households earn only about 1,847 ringgit a month. Why? After more than 4 decades of the NEP, New Economic Policy, 75.5% of those at the bottom are Bumiputras. Why? In spite of the billions poured into education and boarding schools, 64.3% of the Bumiputras workforce have only SPM or higher secondary qualifications. Why? Some 90% of the unemployable university graduates are Bumiputras. Why? Of the 54 billion ringgit worth of shares supposedly given to Bumiputra individuals and institutions between 1984 and 2005, only 2 billion ringgit out of the 54 billion ringgit parcel out remain in Bumiputra hands today. And why, oh why, should the Bumiputras continue to raise a begging bowl and ask for more of the same kind of handouts from the same ruling elite? The bottom 40% get crumbs, while the cronies laugh their way to the bank. This is what Zalina Anwar wrote about her own race. This is what Zalina Anwar bemoaned. And I think this reflects the frustrations felt by many Malays as well as Malaysians. We should also not forget the unhappiness and the feeling of being forgotten by Sabahans and Sarawakians. Both East Malaysian states are tired of being exploited of their natural wealth, ignored and treated poorly when they are each equal partners with Peninsular Malaysia to form Malaysia in 1963. DAP has carried out our Impian Sabah and Sarawak Dream project to provide running tap water and electricity to native people who has been denied such basic services despite 52 years of being part of Malaysia. And of course, this has helped to make inroads into the rural areas. Couple this with the quiet rebellion amongst settlers, Felda settlers, following the collapse of the Felda Global Ventures share prices from the original subscription price of 4 ringgit 55 cents per share to 1 ringgit 34 cents now. You must understand that for the 1 million Felda settlers, a reliable vote bank for UMNO, they are paying monthly 50 ringgit to 100 ringgit to purchase shares they were compelled to buy at 4 ringgit 55 cents per share, which is now worth only 1 ringgit 34 cents. The stage is set for a realignment of political forces in Malaysia with the advent of a new political coalition that will replace Pakatan Rakyat together with Gerakan Harapan Baru, the new movement from past, as well as Malaysians fed up with what is going on and seeking a real change. I believe that with the new Gerakan Harapan Baru, the foundations will be set for a stronger and more dynamic coalition of Malaysian political forces against the corruption, oppression, and regression of the Barisan National Government. Having said that, if we succeed in changing the government at the next elections, can we do a better job? I believe that our experience in Penang proves beyond any doubt that we can indeed perform better than the present government. Despite many challenges, I think our 7-year rule in Penang is an unqualified success. As mentioned earlier, we have recorded budget surpluses every year. But I think what is noteworthy is that in the 6 years we are in power, our accumulated budget surpluses amounted to 453 million ringgit. And this compares with the budget surpluses over 50 years from the previous government, amounting to 373 million ringgit. just 6 years have exceeded what they have done in 50 years. At the same time, we have also addressed income inequality through our various social programs. If you look at the Gini coefficient, the national Gini coefficient is 0.42. Penang used to have a Gini coefficient that measures income inequality at 0.42 in 2007. We have reduced that from 0.42 to 0.37 in 2012, whilst the national average remains at 0.42. For our efforts, we have received accolades from Transparency International and also commended by the Annual Auditor General's report. We are now ranked as the most livable city in Malaysia, and at the same time considered as the third best place in the world for medical tourism and retirement. So, whilst we hope that Malaysia under BN has not gone rogue, I think Penang instead has become vogue. And we think that we can do the same for Malaysia. Now, in conclusion, the success of Penang and also of Selangor shows that we are committed to good and clean governance as the bedrock of our administration. We declare our assets publicly, the only state government to do so. We implement open competitive tenders. We do not allow members of the administration to apply and be given government land. We do not allow their family members to do business with government. No cows and condos scandal in Penang. We believe that we will prevail at the next general elections because we have earned Malaysians' trust that we are clean. And at the same time, Malaysians are fed up of such blatant misconduct. I do not think that we need to explain why it is wrong to have 2.6 billion ringgit donation placed in your personal account. Until in Malaysia now, when charitable organizations ask for money, they don't dare to use the word donation. They use the word contribution. Because we do for donation. We do for the nation, not for donation. It is critical that we demonstrate that we are prepared not only to govern, but to put in place the necessary reforms in order to get our country back on our feet and working again. We believe that we can replicate our success in Penang to save our beloved country and unite all in Malaysia. GST has shown many Malaysians, regardless of race, how things can go wrong if the economy is not managed. The plunge in the value of the ringgit has also shown Malaysians how a financial scandal can hurt ordinary Malaysians. I think the time has come. The time has come for us to save our country. And I believe that we can do so. We will remain loyal to Malaysia. We can be critical of our government. That doesn't mean that we are not loyal to Malaysia. We are Malaysians. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief Minister, for that very sobering speech. You have painted a rather gloomy scenario, but you also suggested that there might be light at the end of the tunnel, that Malaysia might be saved by a change of government. My first question to you really is, a change of government can take place peacefully at the next elections, but how optimistic are you that that change can happen peacefully and without any possible bloodshed? Because the entrenched forces surely will not let that go or happen readily.
I have faith in Malaysians. And Malaysians will will not stand for monkey business. And if the threats of bloodshed works, I'm sure the previous rallies seeking clean elections would not have attracted hundreds of thousands of people. Of course, you all know there will be a birthday rally at the end of this month. So we'll see. We'll see whether the threats would prevent people from coming out to express peacefully their feelings and sentiments of how the country is run, of whether it is acceptable for the Prime Minister to have such a large amount of money deposited in his personal account. We seek peaceful change constitutionally. And if the demands that there be a vote of confidence does not happen, we'll wait 3 years until the next elections. And we're confident that this time round, not just Malaysians in Peninsular Malaysia, regardless whether they are Chinese, Malays or Indians, but even Sabahans and Sarawakians, they are yearning for change. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Minister. This afternoon, Prime Minister Najib actually posted on his Facebook saying that he intends to stay the course, that he has the mandate of the people, and no one has a right to remove him, not even an eminent, unnamed person. How long do you think he can hold his ground? Under what conditions do you see forces within UMNO being able to persuade him to give up power before the next elections?
I feel that the present federal government offers a somewhat dystopian future for Malaysia. Donations from unknown sources, up to 2.6 billion ringgit or 700 million US dollars is acceptable. It's ethically and morally justifiable. Something is wrong here. You know, when I asked a chairman of a parent-teachers association of a small primary school whether as a chairman would he dare to accept public contributions to the school and put it in his own personal account, he said, no, I would not dare to do so. For obvious reasons. Now, if an ordinary chairman of a PTA understands this, how come the Prime Minister doesn't understand this? So something is very wrong here. Another example, the word bersih. Bersih means clean in Bahasa Malaysia. What is wrong about the word bersih? But now in Malaysia, it's becoming to be an illegal word. Almost banned. So if you say the word bersih, somehow you have done something wrong. So when you look at the somewhat dystopian future offered by the present Barisan National Government, I mean, to me, it's just like watching the Hunger Games, you know. And I feel that ordinary Malaysians will not stand for this. Even UMNO members cannot accept this. That's why his own deputy had to speak out. And it is not just ordinary Malaysians, it is even the UMNO members. That's why you find more and more UMNO members coming out all over the country, expressing their unhappiness. And it is, I think, this that the Prime Minister has to address. No amount of media control can hide the obvious truth. What is wrong remains wrong. You cannot turn black into white or white into black. And that's why I continue to have faith in Malaysians. Enough is enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Minister. On the question of 1MDB, I note that in an earlier speech, you described the acronym as standing for Satu Malaysia Dalam Bahaya, or the whole of Malaysia in danger. I wonder, if you could help us understand how or why a political party in Malaysia would need $700 million in its war chest to secure its position. I read somewhere that Barack Obama, in his 2012 re-election campaign, raised $1 billion US, and that's for a population of 300 million. Malaysia has a population that's 1/10 that of America. How do you explain that disjunct?
Malaysia boleh lah. No, but seriously speaking, this is something that even UMNO members cannot accept. Okay, you say that this is for UMNO. Then, of course, we go with the question of political financing. Is this right or not? But UMNO members question, why put it in the personal account of the Prime Minister? Malaysians were asking, of course, how can someone give so much money? Who is the mysterious Middle Eastern Arab? After all, our former Prime Minister, Tun Dr. Mahathir, has said, Arabs are not that generous, you know. How come he cannot be revealed? So I think there are too many questions that goes unanswered. And the more he tries to cover up, and the more he tries to prosecute and intimidate those who are searching for the truth and trying to get answers, I think the more he reveals his true self. And I think that's something, again, that Malaysians will not stand for. So you may feel that that somehow the federal government is getting everything its way, but that is not reflective of what is happening on the ground. If you talk to ordinary people, those who traditionally support UMNO, the ground has shifted. Even UMNO knows the ground has shifted. And as I said, it's just not the deputy president of UMNO. It is senior leaders of UMNO who knows that the ground has shifted. If elections are to be held now, you may not agree with me, but I think Barisan Nasional will lose. Despite the fact that PAS is no longer with Pakatan Rakyat, Barisan Nasional would lose, because the principal question will be whether we want a government that is tainted with one NDB or another coalition that is committed to cleaning up the mess created by one MDB. And that is the reason why he dare not go for elections now. He will hold out right to the end. We will be patient, because I think the wheels of history must take its course. Thank you.
Thank you. One last question before I open the session to the floor. You've expressed optimism that this new coalition is the way forward. But where does that optimism come from, considering that the history of Pakatan has been littered with so many disagreements and conflicts? What makes you so confident that this time this new coalition will be able to transcend what many people see to be fundamental ideological differences, even between liberal Muslims and a secular party like DAP?
I think the disputes and disagreements, they are part and parcel of democratic politics. And I think that is healthy. But I think what is more important also is that for my party, the DAP, we stand on principle. All along we have felt that if you don't stand on principle, don't stand at all. And once that is broken, you cannot cooperate and work with a party like PAS under its new leadership. And even the moderates within PAS, because they disagreed with that hardline stance and also the new leadership's willingness to cooperate with UMNO, they were willing to be defeated in the internal party elections. They've decided to come out. And when they come out from PAS, if you attend their public rallies, the response has been unexpectedly good. Whereas PAS has stopped holding public rallies, they only hold internal party meetings. That shows a loss of confidence. Again, looking at the other side of the coin, not just on this new movement coming in, I mentioned just now also that half of their members of parliament are actually crossing over to this new movement. On our side, our efforts to attract more Malays to join the party has seen some success. I mean, it's not every day you get a national laureate joining the DAP. And that national laureate is one of the most famous Malay literary lights in Malaysia, as well as constitutional legal experts, Malay professionals, men, women. And this is, as I said, a new development. We feel that these two changes, progressive in their nature, augurs well for a new democratic Malaysia, a moderate Malaysia, a tolerant Malaysia. And I think Malaysians are willing to give us a chance. Again, as I said, any disagreement, that is something that will be worked out democratically. And I believe that Malaysians want a moderate alternative that can govern and that can manage the economy to Barisan Nasional.
Thank you. I'd like now to open the floor for questions. Please identify yourself. Yes, please.
I'm David Kwa. My question is whether DAP is willing to work with Dr. M to topple the so-called topple the Najib before his term ends. Thank you.
You got me on that one. That's a very interesting proposition by Tun Dr. Mahathir, because he made this. I saw this proposal when I was on my way to Hong Kong, and my first reaction was, is he trying to have his cake and eat it? No, he said that you throw out Najib, but hang on to Barisan Nasional. So if you do what he suggests, you may fall into his trap. But I would prefer to keep an open mind, because you do not know what is his actual suggestion. Sometimes the press may not print in full, or what he meant may not be fully expressed. So I would prefer to keep an open mind, and if necessary, why don't we sit down and discuss? I'm willing to sit down and discuss and talk to Tun Dr. Mahathir, as the Secretary General and the leader of the DAP, and also Penang Chief Minister, with the former Prime Minister, who sent me to prison twice. So no bitterness there. I mean, he has sent me to prison twice. Forgive but never forget. No? But still, I think we are at a very critical phase. Some of the policies, some of the announcements made, now they're talking about even regulating the internet, going against the 10 bills of guarantees of internet freedom. You see Malaysia marching backwards, not moving forward. So I would prefer to keep an open mind and open to having discussions with Tun Dr. Mahathir on his suggestion. Thank you. The mic.
My name is Nicholas Rogers. The coalition won more votes in the 2013 election, but because the constituencies are gerrymandered, it did not translate into seats in the parliament. So my question is, realistically, what chance is there for constituency boundaries to be changed more fairly? Secondly, you mentioned the new coalition with moderate PAS. I think a coalition needs a leader to sort of speak for the coalition, and with Anwar in jail, who's going to do that?
I'll take the second question first. You still be Anwar, because he is in prison. Doesn't mean that because he's in prison we abandon him. No, we will not do that. And we believe that he can still lead the coalition even within the prison walls. Should we win power, as I said, that I'm confident that we'll prevail. Once you are in power, I think we'll be able to secure his release and let him come back as the Prime Minister of the new government. And that's done in Turkey. Erdogan, I think, also faced the same predicament. On the question of how to win the elections, even though you got more votes than the Barisan Nasional at last elections, you got 52%, Barisan got 48%, yet they won 60% of seats. It is because the manner, the constituencies are gerrymandered. So we have to reach a higher bar in order to win power. But I think let's take a simple assessment that those who voted for us at the last elections, after all that has happened, I think they'll continue to stay with us. And I think that they have also disillusioned sufficient numbers of Barisan Nasional supporters, not just because of 1MDB and the 2.6 billion ringgit political donation scandal, but also how the economy has hurt them. Finally, at the end of the day, it's all about the economy. And when people are hungry, they are angry. And they would, I think, be willing to give us a chance. So if you can get more than 52%, even 1% more votes, that will translate into many more seats, especially Sabah and Sarawak, which is a ferment for change. Thank you. The mic.
Yeah.
The mic.
Philip Bowring. Before the MDB issue came up, Dr. Mahathir was making every possible effort to get rid of the Prime Minister, and he was supported by some of the right-wing elements of UMNO. Do you really think there's any possibility of having any kind of agreement with an UMNO which remains unreformed and which the alternative to Najib is more to the right than we are at the moment? These are mostly the more extreme Malays within UMNO, as well as all those who benefited from all the scams which took place under Mahathir. I mean, if one looks back at all the innumerable issues which went on in the 1990s with Daim and so on and so forth, it is hard to imagine that an UMNO cleansed of Najib will be any cleaner than an UMNO with Najib.
I would partially agree with that assessment. Before 1MDB and of course the 2.6 billion ringgit political donation scandal, we felt that the Mahathir had a personal axe to grind, that he was seeking the downfall of Najib out of personal reasons. But after what has happened, especially following the 1MDB scandal and of course the 2.6 billion ringgit political donation, that has hurt the economy. And the people are crying out for something, for an alternative to not only save Malaysia but also save themselves. What it started out as cross purposes appears to be meeting somewhere. Probably not quite meeting but coming close. And I think that's something that we should not dismiss out of hand. As I said just now, we should be willing to discuss because of the dire straits that is happening in Malaysia now. It's 4.2. You look at the ringgit, it's gone down to 4.2, which was the prediction of many fund managers at the end of this year. But we have not even reached the end of this year, it's already 4.2. So I presume the fund managers will give out a new assessment again. But with the ringgit in free fall, something has to give. I think that is why, despite strong reservations, we are willing to have discussions with Mahathir. And coming from me personally, as I said just now, that's saying a lot. He sent me to prison twice, you know. If I was still the Prime Minister, I may be going in a few more times. But I think national interest takes priority. Thank you.
We have time for 2 quick questions. The lady in the front and one more.
My name is Alina Chu. I guess the general election is a few years away, and we are where we are. So between now and the general election, what in your mind would be the best case and the worst case scenario for Malaysian politics and economics? And by the way, for the purpose of full disclosure, I'm a proud Penangite. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for disclosing yourselves as a proud Penangite. I'm also a proud Penangite. The best case scenario, of course, would be that the Prime Minister take heed of the demands of the people, do the right thing. The worst case scenario is, I prefer not to speculate on that. I think that is something that we are trying to avoid. Thank you.
One last question.
You can have 2 more because my answer was so short.
Okay.
Colin Murphy for the Nikkei Asian Review. We talked earlier about Dr. Mahathir. Is there any other possibilities, such as a no confidence motion when Parliament resumes later in the year? Would that be something that you might consider? And secondly, the second part of my question is, you talked about a kind of reorganization of the opposition. Will we see any formalization of or restructuring of the opposition in the coming weeks or months?
Thank you. As far as the vote of confidence, the issue of the vote of confidence, I think we intend to at least put it in Parliament. But whether you will see the light of the day, it depends on the Speaker. It will be interesting to test the extent of the Prime Minister's support. But again, as I said, he controls Parliament, and it may not even be up on the order paper. Secondly, on the restructured opposition coalition, we hope that things will be clearer over the next 1 month, because the new political movement will be registered as a formal entity, has a formal political party. Thank you.
Peng Tan here, another Penangite. My question is, how true is it that a lot of problems we Malaysians are facing today is down to one woman called Rosmah?
I would prefer not to answer that question, because I don't think that it's appropriate for me to attack the Prime Minister's wife. After all, she is not an office holder. I can understand the import and the meaning behind that question, but unless we have concrete proof, I would prefer not to dwell in such speculation, no matter how concrete it may appear to be. So I'll just leave it at that. I'll just concentrate on Najib. Can I have one more question? Yes, sir. Yes.
Aside from the billions donations that we are talking about here, there are something brewing within the allies of DAP, which is PAKR, Darul Ehsan Investment Group. What is any actions that DAP is going to do as a strong ally to PKR?
Actually, I don't quite understand that, to be frank, because there's this MBI, which is Menteri Besar Incorporated. We have a similar structure in Penang. We have a Chief Ministers Incorporated. That is a holding company of all assets belonging to the state government. So we have a similar structure, and that is a structure that is also practiced in other states. But that's where I think the similarity stop, or where the similarity ends, because we do not have a DEIG, isn't it? Sorry, DEIG. Yes, we don't have a DEIG that he's trying to propose in Selangor. We just stop at the CMI, Chief Minister Incorporated, and in Selangor will be Menteri Besar Incorporated. He's putting in another mechanism which we don't have in Penang. I do not quite understand why he's putting in that mechanism. I'll leave it to my colleagues in Selangor to deal with it. I think there's one more question, isn't it? One last one. Oh, still a few more. Can you pass him the mic? Do you have any time limit? Okay. Right. They got another function, yeah.
Hi, Chief Minister. Penang Night again. Seen your announcement on the Penang Transportation Master Plan. How you envision, one thing, first question is, how are you going to get everything ready and roll it out? One. Second question is, how are you going to envision Penang going to be like in 3 years, 5 years time?
The Transport Master Plan is actually a plan born out of desperation. Now, why do I say it's a plan born out of desperation? Because we face this traffic congestion problem, principally because there is no adequate public transport. And public transport being a federal jurisdiction, we could not get the license. Of course, the Prime Minister had promised 3 times, not once, not twice, but 3 times, which he never fulfilled that promise to build an LRT for Penang. And as I said, out of desperation, we decided to do it ourselves, but he still refused to grant us a license. So instead, we have decided to appoint a project delivery partner where they will be entrusted to secure that license at their own cost. So if they succeed, they can proceed with the project. If they do not succeed, they have to bear their own cost. They are confident that they will succeed. So we let them do it. And that is that consortium now being appointed as the project delivery partner is headed by Gamuda, which is of course doing the MRT project in the Klang Valley. The other members are 2 Penang-based companies. And we hope that that can break the logjam. And it's an all-encompassing transport master plan. What I can describe, or what I can probably term it, as a Big Bang approach. We hope to have a once and for all solution. And if we can make it happen, everything can be done by the due completion date of 2030. Penang's prosperity will be assured beyond 2050. Because when you have public transport, I think private economic development from the private sector would follow suit. Envision Penang 5 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years from now, it will not be another Hong Kong. It cannot be another Hong Kong. Hong Kong is too far ahead. Neither can it be another Singapore. But I think what we envisage for Penang is a sustainable, people-centric, livable city with bicycle lanes, with greens, and of course, most important, that is easily accessible to the population, not just on the island, but also on the mainland. Because you want connectivity seamlessly done between both sides. We hope to have 5 links by 2030. 5 links between the island and the mainland. A bit like Hong Kong and Kowloon. We have so many links. You have the first bridge, which is completed. The second bridge also completed. The proposed 3rd link and underground, and under-seabed tunnel. That will be the 3rd link. Expected completion date 2025 to 2027. The 4th link will be, of course, the LRT line from the island to the mainland. The 5th link will be the cable car, which we hope will be completed by 2018. Simple cable car. And there's a 6th link, the ferry, for what it's worth, the ferry. So hopefully Penang will be a smallish international and intelligent city that is not too big but not too small, cozy for those who want perhaps a relaxing alternative to the hustle and bustle of Hong Kong. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chief Minister. I have one last question, and that is, you've painted a very balanced picture, but on balance, really, should we be optimistic about Malaysia? Considering that, so much must be at stake that you are willing to meet and negotiate with your jailer.
Just like the Transport Master Plan is born out of desperation, sir. You look at the ringgit falling to 4 ringgit 20 cents. I think we never expect that to happen in our lifetime. Things appears to be growing more and more desperate. So I think we got to consider alternatives. But at the same time, let me assure everyone that we will never compromise on our principles. And that is why we are willing to call it quits with PAS, since they did not fulfill their side of the bargain. We are willing to put everything on the line. We are willing to even lose our positions, lose our posts. Well, so what if I'm not the Chief Minister? I'll just be an ordinary person. I was that for a major part of my life. But I would say that at the end of the day, whether we should feel optimistic or pessimistic, I think I would prefer to look at a half glass has been half glass full rather than a half glass empty. And why do I say that? Look at me. I'm standing before you as a Penang Chief Minister. 15 years ago, I was an ex-convict. I was in prison. I never in my wildest dreams thought that I'll become the Chief Minister. And here I am, speaking to you as a Chief Minister for the second term. And hopefully, of course, for the third term. So all the Penang Knights here better go home and vote for me. But if you look at that journey, that transition from a complete monopolistic hold of power by Barisan Nasional to now where they cannot even secure the two-thirds majority and is facing the possibility of defeat at the next elections, I think we have come a long way. So never give up, never lose faith. I always believe that if you keep plugging on, something will give and you can succeed. It has been said many times, but the darkest moment of the night is the moment just before dawn. So don't lose hope. And I'm sure ordinary Malaysians will return that faith. Thank you.
Thank you very much.